Warning, this program may contain visuals that might offend sensitive viewers. Parental guidance is advised. Their fathers dead. Their families fighting the hardship of poverty. In tonight's episode of Cutting Edge, the children of deceased gold mine workers speak out. Their fathers died along thousands of other men from an incurable lung disease while working in South Africa's gold mines.
I saw how they treated my father and how they ignored him for those long years that he worked for them. But at the end of the day, he turned to be nothing.
A landmark High Court ruling last year paved the way for former gold mine workers who contracted silicosis to sue the country's major gold mine companies as a group.
I hand down the judgment.
But mining companies have appealed this judgment. Meanwhile, parallel to this, crucial negotiations with gold mining companies are urging closer to a financial settlement. In part 1, we brought you the devastating stories of sick former miners and the wives and daughters who must care for them. Will a settlement be reached in time for these families? And will the widows and children of deceased mine workers find justice?
O hlokahetse ke na le 16 years. And o sebeditse mining le motse ngata haholo. And then akula. Ukuleng wa hae o tsamaile clinic ana fumana treatment up until ba hlokahala. O hlokahetse jwalo a re sia jwalo le no ntho tse le forona di kopanya. Ha ke sa khona ho kopanya ka mokgwa kopanyang ka teng even though ke sebetsa hona mona ana sebetsa teng. So khibile le mathata haholo ka ntate hobane o re sokodisitse o kutsi haholo ene o kutsi jwalo a kutsiswa ke siki tsa mining ngwana sebetsa teng. So le no raphela mare pele ngwa rona ho sa tshwana le pele ja sebetsa hona mo a sebetsa ana sebetsa teng mara ke sa khona ho itsa ntho tse leng for ka nako ona thusa ka tsona ka tlo ga soko that's it.
Bona ba bua betse fela ke TB ka ba mofa di tšhelete tsa haya tsa ma treatment ya mine 6 months ba ra ha sa sebetsa tlame o ya pele ka treatment o bana sa sebetsa ha fihla ka mona a kula hape ha ke mo isa khutalang clinic anwa di pilisi onule 8 months barikio
After decades of service in gold mines, the Kuna family suddenly found themselves without money, proper medical care, and the burden of taking care of an ailing man.
Hantlante mo emutshware makhatlo emutshware mining a tswa mining ya mutshwara khatla bobidi le ene ke la o qetela a hlokana ke lona le kile ka bona hore hae mo phita araro jwale ke mo bophela ha bo o bonene ke mmone hore na sa kgone loja ke le ka utlwa bohloko haholo bane mmelena like ke tsholo hore re sokotsa haholo ka ntate la ntsa phela ne re sokola ka yena haholo apa ntile ba hlokala mme a sokola mara ntse ke le teng lapeng ke thusana le yena ona fokotse mmeleng ke mathata stress jalo jalo.
Like many other men from his community, Thabo had to step in and go find work in the very same mine where his father contracted the deadly disease that would lead to his slow and painful death.
Na ho kwa bonyane ke la ka la etsa hore nka fitlhella polo ya rene ke la ka tsa ba loya go nneteng bophelong. Sekolo ke straight hobane se re sokola lapeng mo ho so sna motho a kgona go thusa ka tlung ho sna ntwe ke nang ya hore ka thusa ka ona lapeng mona ka ke tlama hore ke tlole sekolo ke tle le nne ke tlo batla mosebetsi hae mona up until ke o fumana ke tshwara ke thusa lapeng mona.
The Kuna family meets with Hendrik Mokoena, who was trained as a paralegal by Richard Spoor attorneys, who are leading the class action. He is tasked to assist the plaintiffs in the litigation. Hendrik was also a former gold mine worker who contracted TB underground and is one of the plaintiffs in the landmark case.
There is no jobs, so they just push in so that they can have something on the table, you know. It doesn't mean that they can't see the danger they are going to be in. But just because no one, you'll find that in the family, no one is working, even the mother is not working, so he or she will have to go to the mine.
Hey, lena ya sebetsa mo mining. Mare, ho sebetseng wa teng safety ke hane ite mare ho kula o sempolo ro ka o fumana ho kula. So se re sebetsa because of re batla ho phela. Ha ona ka mokgwa ka etsang ka teng.
Hobane ke dula ke tshuile ke re mohlomong ntho e tshwereng tatwae then e tla motshwara hobane o sebetsa ona moo.
Not far from Thabo Kuna, Alice Magala and her sister live in Virginia in the Free State. In the first part of our story on former miners battling silicosis, we told the story of the Magala siblings. Alice's father died of silicosis when she was a student. With no compensation from the mines, the family had no money, and Alice had to drop out of college despite her good marks and a promising future.
I was at Welcome College doing business management because I wanted to open one of my business one day. That was my dream, to be someone. But then it all vanished. I remember when my father passed away, Louisa was doing grade 11. My mother only tried to take her to the college to do engineering. But this year there is no money for her to go back to school and finish her course so that she can get any work, just like me. We dropped out in the middle of nowhere.
The mines are cruel, you know, because I have been in many homes of these sick mine workers. And if you came there, you will find that these people, they are struggling a lot. And those who are deceased, you'll find that their children, they can't even go to school now.
Technology is used for both positive and negative.
Some governments block the internet in times of protest.
With this internet blackout, it's impossible for me to do it, so I have to travel to Douala.
This act is a true violation of the rights of citizens.
In Africa, people are always coming up with innovative ways to use technology to solve some of their problems.
The more interesting piece of technology is actually the artificial intelligence.
AI, it's utilizing data to make your life easier.
On Network, we'll give you Africa's technology and social media news.
Catch Network with Spumelele Zondi every Saturday at 8:30 p.m. SABCnews.com is your one-stop digital portal to all the news you need. With a website that is easy to use on mobile, SABC News prides itself in being the primary source of public service content across multiple platforms. Watch live streams of all the big news events on the SABC News YouTube channel, which is one of the most viewed South African YouTube channels globally. And catch up on the best of SABC television and radio news. Follow breaking news on all of the SABC News social media platforms, interact with SABC News on Facebook, and stay connected on Twitter for the latest headlines and real-time updates by our reporters. SABC News, everywhere.
News at 9. We go beyond the headlines of the day and breaking news to bring you all the angles and in-depth analysis of stories that impact your life. We are on the ball with all economic stories. Our bureaus around the globe are ready to connect you to events as and when they happen. So join us every day at 9 to zoom in on the day's big stories.
I hand down the judgment.
In May 2016, the landmark judgment handed down in the Johannesburg High Court paved the way for former gold mine workers who fell ill while working in the mines to sue all of South Africa's biggest gold mine companies for compensation. Should litigation go ahead, this historic case could define the country's first ever class suit action where a group of affected individuals could sue essentially an entire industry for compensation. But intensive talks have been taking place parallel to the litigation process and behind closed doors. And in recent reports, mining companies announced that they have estimated figures in their financial reports earmarked for a trust for affected miners. Alan Fines represents 6 of the biggest gold mining companies and says they remain hopeful to reach a settlement out of court.
It's difficult to aggregate the amount because each one has accounted for it in a different way, some of them in rands, some of them in US dollars, some on a before-tax basis, some on an after-tax basis, and some on a discounted basis. However, in aggregate, the non-discounted before-tax amount seems to add up to something of the order of 5 billion rands. These are provisions, they're not yet amounts that have been committed to a fund because a settlement has not yet been reached.
Georgina Jeffson, who represents Richard Spoor attorneys who have been instrumental in bringing about the class action suit, says an out-of-court settlement could mean faster relief for those former mine workers for whom time is running out.
If we can achieve the right settlement, which is in the best interests of the class, then absolutely. You know, it's a difference of potentially starting to compensate mine workers in the next 2 or 3 years, as opposed to having to litigate for the next 2 to 5, 10, possibly 10 years. You know, and at that stage we haven't compensated anyone. So yes, if we can achieve an appropriate settlement, then it is in the interests that we do so sooner rather than later.
Any settlement that does take place would not be on the basis of an admission of liability. However, the companies believe, and presumably the claimants and the claimants' representatives similarly believe, that an agreed settlement is a far better outcome for all concerned than litigation that can potentially carry on for a very long time.
Exactly how many mine workers were affected is still up for debate. Some estimate it could be as many as 500,000 mine workers, a figure under dispute.
The mines have known about silicosis and the cause of silicosis since the 1800s. Our class is only from 1965 up to certification, but it means that during that time, the mines did not comply with industry standards for dust control. If you start thinking about all the miners that worked on gold mines from 1965 up to now, we're talking about thousands of miners. The affected miners are not just South African miners. The gold mining industry made use of the migrant working system. So we're talking about miners from Lesotho, from Malawi, from Mozambique, and we really are talking about a lot of people. This is a grand scale.
Nyakalong is a small township in Welkom in the Free State that also forms part of the so-called goldfields of South Africa. Here, over decades, many communities have relied heavily on the mining industry for employment. Palelo Sitwai worked in the local gold mines since the 1970s, but after almost 3 decades of hard labor underground, he fell ill. Palelo says he's got nothing to show for his life's work.
Hendrik
Mokoena meets Palelo at his modest house. Palelo is one of the plaintiffs in the landmark silicosis case. He was initially diagnosed with TB, a common misdiagnosis amongst mine workers.
happy? Me, Kuri. Kibe mutasa khono fumana go ja hantle. Moya o kwale yo mantsalo. Ke ma boemo bonbo. Ke bona bo mathadi ke kopanelwana. O mantsalo ke kwale ya moya.
Anele Yawa works with the Treatment Action Campaign, an advocacy group fighting for the poor's rights to proper medical treatment. The organization joined the silicosis class action as friends of the court.
As much as the focus was on silicosis on this case, nobody cared to say anything about those who conducted tuberculosis whilst they were working in mines. It is against that background that we as TAC, we felt that it is very much important for us to apply for this case to be admitted as friends of the court, so that we can be able to expose some of the neglect that are being caused by these mining companies not to adhere to occupational health and safety standards.
Mining companies currently remain mum on whether negotiations for an out-of-court financial settlement also include former gold mine workers who contracted TB.
The negotiations that are taking place are unfortunately taking place under conditions of confidentiality, so we can't go into that detail at this stage, but you are correct to say that it was a matter that was raised in the initial court proceedings in the High Court and was dealt with in the judgment that was delivered by the High Court.
What we're talking about in this case, we're talking about justice for all, so that each and every individual can feel that sense of his dignity being recognized by the system.
you a front row seat to all the local and international entertainment news on Trends every Saturday from 12 to 1. News at 9. We go beyond the headlines of the day and breaking news to bring you all the angles and in-depth analysis of stories that impact your life. We are on the ball with all economic stories. Our bureaus around the globe are ready to connect you to events as and when they happen. So join us every day at 9 to zoom in on the day's big stories.
And shut up, you stay lazy and listen.
The Honourable President told me to shut up.
It's up to the leadership of the DA to make a decision whether we continue to fight like they're doing now or we put the people of the city of Cape Town first.
You must go, Chief. You called me a dog here.
Ma, come back and leave after giving us a signal.
This is SABC News.
The Tulos go through their daily ritual of getting medicine ready for Tsidiso. They have to pay for this from their meager funds. The relief it brings is short-lived.
Daddy, kina ke paki. Ha go bala ka dunga mona. Ya go la ke khohlela go ke tsuwe beteng, ke dule fase. Ke a kwalela kwaleya. Ka sfinga mo ke khohlela busuka go fela. Ntse ke khohlela na. Ma hone ka go a ke khohlela ona le mo go tloa mo. Go tla mona ka ona le maqeba. Ka mona ka mona.
Hey, ntho e utlwisa bohloko haholo, especially ha ntate a sa sebetse ona le bana. Ile a nkutlwisa bohloko ho le nna ke le ka iphumana ke tlameha hore o be le treatment e ke enwang ya high blood. Nna ne se ke akgetse thaolo. Ke se ke bona hore ho bima fela he o bane modimo ke modimo a sa hloleheng. Ka benyane ntse ke misa hodimo le tlase he di doctoreng a kena tšhelete ana go mo fumana hore ke thuswa ha gona ke thusa ke bana ba gona hore a fumane ho ya ngakeng.
Silicosis ba mpoleletse yona ka 2006 ntse ke le mosebetsing. Then, but before 2006, isn't the hotel like good law? I can but one of them played on 2006. Kabaka Fumana treatment at PDC 6 months. Kafua PDC, even on a change, even thing. Kafua injection, 8 months, little PDC. Kislabu is at the Apa vitella ba ke na le TB straight na le TB ka be ke iswa Oppenheimer ba ntwitsa straight ga e o tshwere e ba ntse ke ja treatment o tlwa kana go ne ntse ke ja treatment o vitella ba gonna ai e ka go re iphokosi o tlwa mo Bampa certificate sa TB.
Health experts say it's not uncommon to misdiagnose silicosis or diagnose it late because symptoms are initially similar to other lung diseases like asthma and TB. Because of the latency in the development of the illness, minors could die never being diagnosed. Julian Mtombeni is a lecturer in the Department of Biochemical Technology at the University of Johannesburg. She recently published her research findings into a serious decline in the amount of autopsies of deceased minors to determine if they had silicosis. This, she says, is a crucial part to enable families to claim for damages under the Occupational Diseases in Mine Workers Act.
The diseases may not be picked up when the person is still alive, but when the person is dead, in an autopsy, you get to open up and actually see with your own eyes the organs and be able to take pieces of those organs and look under the microscope and see if the disease is there or not. So if the autopsy is not done and the disease was not picked up yet, not probably because the miner doesn't have a disease, but probably because it's still too early to tell, then you can miss it.
Shockingly, the study also found that the lack of awareness around the family's rights to request an autopsy was just as high among the healthcare workers at mining hospitals.
I expected that in the mine hospitals, that's where they would know more about this act. But I was really surprised to find that really it's not everybody who knows. Even the doctors, they were questioning quite a number of things. Even the act itself, they were questioning it. So the public hospitals, I take that it's even lower.
As negotiations between plaintiffs in the silicosis case and the mining companies reach a crucial stage, these companies remain tight-lipped on whether the transmissibility of damages to affected families will form part of a potential settlement.
And that's a very fair question to ask, but the answer, unfortunately, is covered by the confidentiality provisions of the talks that are currently going on.
Many former miners have already died or face increasingly ill health, and stakeholders believe an out-of-court settlement could bring relief sooner to these families than a lengthy litigation process.
If we can achieve the right settlement, which is in the best interests of the class, starting to compensate mine workers in the next 2 or 3 years, as opposed to having to litigate for the next 2 to 5, 10, possibly 10 years, and at that stage we haven't compensated anyone. So yes, if we can achieve an appropriate settlement, then it is in the interests that we do so sooner rather than later.
Technology is used for both positive and negative.
Some governments block the internet in times of protest.
With this internet blackout, it's impossible for me to do it, so I have to travel to Douala.
This act is a true violation of the rights of citizens.
In Africa, people are always coming up with innovative ways to use technology to solve some of their problems.
The more interesting piece of technology is actually the artificial intelligence.
AI, it's utilizing data to make your life easier.
On Network, we give you Africa's technology and social media news.
Catch Network with Spumelele Zondi every Saturday at 8:30 p.m.
As democracy matures, we get into discussing very, very sensitive issues.
I think that there's a lot of people that are applauding it. I'm sure it's going to be appealed.
It is the beginning of a long journey of South Africa fighting racism.
That sticky label of being a white party, so to speak, doesn't seem to want to go away.
So the competition actually helps, and it brings out winning in total.
Stay tuned to Media Monitor every Sunday from 9 a.m. Did you know the big hole digging started in 1871 and ended on the 14th August 1914? The hole produced 2,722 kgs of diamonds. However, one diamond as huge as 490 carat of stone found in the open prior 1868 gave them the interest to dig. Extracted from 22.5 million tons of soil. Today, the hole sits at a breathtaking 214 meters deep.
Kimberley Big Hole attracts tourists from all over the world, taking a vintage tram past the city, then cycling around the Big Hole.